Oh, there we go. Now it's
Bingo.
recording. Do I need to go back over my spiel again?
I mean,
I mean, I can just kind of briefly.
yeah.
I, like I said, I work in a building where we are now inclusive, and we have the special education teacher that is housed in one of our classrooms in the grade level. My first year it was actually me. Last year it was both, or last year and this year were my other two cohorts. But I agree, it's pro. I think that it's great. It can help a lot of, unless you have any mobility issues or they're one to one and don't have to be in an alternate work location. I think that it's a great thing. But I can see why, in some cases, like there is a kiddo that we have who was in my class my first year who is not able to be in the classroom with his peers because he's very disruptive and can get very volatile. And that's not something that should be in the classroom. So, okay, whoever wants to go next.
I was going to add on to kind of what you said too, but I think it's good because when there's other kiddos in there that work with peers with different learning needs, often I feel like it can stress the importance of patience and then like flexibility in the other kiddos. Even like a creativity and like a communication, like how can they
Yeah.
communicate with those kiddos? And then it even pushes us as like the educator and it helps us even for like coming in with an open mind, stretching our own skills out. I mean, they can push us to go above and beyond every single day, and it just, test our patience as well. But
Yeah.
I truly believe, like, and I'm a mom as well, but like you go into a store and there's the 2-year-old throwing the fit on the ground. I mean, it goes hand in hand. They're gonna see it
Yep.
every day. They're gonna see it in the real world. They're gonna see it every day. And I just truly believe that it helps to just grow them as individuals at a young age.
No, I completely agree with that. And it also gives them some adaptability and also understanding on a whole other level.
Yes.
Because when they don't necessarily see it, like I didn't see it really growing up. And so,
Mhm.
like, it definitely changed. Like, I got to middle school and I was like, whoa, hello, this is different.
Yeah.
And so, like, it gave me a different understanding and acceptance of it too.
What grades do you guys teach?
I teach third.
Okay.
And I'm first grade.
Maddie, what was that?
Kindergarten.
Okay,
Kindergarten.
so I'm in the high school
Okay.
and I see two completely different sides of this. Like I'm definitely pro mainstreaming that and making sure that we're all in the same classroom and the inclusive piece. The
Hmm.
biggest like issue that I see is every student knows why I enter the classroom for a co-taught class. And
Yeah.
so I bat, and that's, I mean, it is what it is. Like there's multiple co-taught classes. Like it's
Hmm.
just kind of the way that it is. Especially that they're in high school, there's just a little bit more of that heightened awareness that not only the students I
Hmm.
serve have, but also the other students in the classroom. And a lot of the students that I am there to help will often shoo me away at times just because they're like, no, 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 I don't want my peers to see that I'm getting help. But
Hmm.
they also see that they can, because they have the option, if it's written in their IEP, they can use an alternative location, which would be my room where we would go over those things. Like if it's a quiz or something along those lines. And so they're totally fine doing that. But if they're struggling in class, like it's that attention that I bring. So it's a good exercise for me to make sure that I'm providing the services they need in a way that is not intrusive to their own individual needs and who they are as an individual. And so they feel that they are still able to learn at their own speed and do everything independently, but also while providing them the services they need. It's just kind of a tough line to walk. But
Hmm.
I do agree that they do benefit significantly more from being around their peers. I don't think that there's any argument to that. But I just do,
Yeah.
I battle the increased self-awareness as the students get older.
Yeah, the once they get older, it's harder for it's more of an awareness that they realize that they're different than their peers. And
Yep.
that's where my third graders are starting to understand that. And it's so strange to see at a third grade level that they're understanding that. And so, but that's why I do have like a different table in my room, so that way that like anybody who comes in and wants assistance can go there
Yep.
and not just kids with IEP services. So
Yep.
it's
Started
not just
implementing something very similar to you where it's not just my IEP students that can come
yeah.
with me. everybody can if they need a little extra help. Now they're in trouble in geometry because I don't know a darn thing, but they'll figure it out. We'll figure it out together is the way I usually tell them. But no, that's
Yep.
I've implemented something similar.
Do you service just for like the core classes of like math and ELA, or do you do like social studies, science, and then
We
any of
do
the?
social studies and biology, and I
Okay.
think there's going to be a shift coming where we're gonna have a teacher take more like the transition piece, and then
Gotcha.
that's going to open up a classroom for us to go and be a part of the co-taught curriculum. And I think that one of those things is going to be more science class, more history classes, more of those things. So it'll be more of a broad spectrum in which we're providing those services.
Love that. Love that. Maddie, what's your thoughts?
I'm same thing with you guys pro. The nice thing about like the school I'm at, pairs, they bounce from each kid. So whoever needs help, you like my kids cannot pick up who has IEPs, which is nice. Even at a young age, I feel like they don't even pick up on that. And like they do a good job of helping each other. I like to pair like my higher kids with my lower kids because I feel like my lower kids can learn a lot from my high kids, but also I feel like my low kids can learn a lot or can teach a lot to my high kids. And so I think it's just good to like have them um work work with each other and they can just learn a lot.
No, I agree. So then we also have to kind of talk about the con as far as like why, like kind of Henry, you kind of talked about that a little bit. Um, but yeah, I think that self-awareness makes a huge difference with not being able to do that. Now, we are all in the bigger public schools in the area, correct? No, where are you at, Maddie?
I'm in Curtis.
Oh, okay.
Ooh,
So
yeah,
how
you're
would you
way down
say
the
that
west.
the difference is with like curriculum? Do you have like an alternative curriculum for special education students? Like, do you know what like it like alternate assessment, that kind of stuff? Like, how does that look in your district versus, like one of the big public schools? Like I'm in Papillion La Vista, so that's one of not one of the biggest ones, but one of the smaller ones in the
My
area.
uncle's the superintendent of Papio.
Oh my gosh, Rickley,
Yep.
that's too funny.
So like ours, what they do, like our title and special ed, they kind of take off like so I use UFly for phonics and
Yep.
they use that in their classrooms with my IEP kids and my title kids, which helps because then like we're working together and the kids are getting the same thing, but just like double dose.
Yeah, more of like an individualized.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Um, what are the other ones? So the third one on cons is legislating to require students to fulfill the roles of parent, home, and counselor for special education is unrealistic and unproductive. I mean, I feel like as teachers, we already have so many different hats. Like I know in my building, I feel like I definitely have the parent role sometimes with some of my kids, especially this year. I've got a girl in my room who just does it like her mom is very robotic, doesn't really have the nurture. She has just the nature part of it, and I'm very much a nurture versus nature. Like, yes, there's times where you have to push back, but the same times, like all she wants is like that positive attention, and it feels like all she gets at home is the negative. And so that's definitely one of the hats I feel like I take on more
Hmm.
as a teacher. And I feel like sometimes it gets very exhausting when we have all these different hats, but I'm sure I'm not alone.
No, I agree. It is exhausting at times. Even just like even when I was reading that, like the counselor part, I mean, being in education at such a young age with kindergarten first, there, I mean, all of us have, or I guess Henry, you're a little older, but
Oh,
that counselor part too, I feel like even you as high school, like that's kind of
Yeah.
when they need somebody. And like you as a guy, I feel like those boys connect to you too, because we do a lot of walk and talks. I don't know if you guys do a lot of walk and talks. They're amazing. And so like our PE teacher is like a great guy, real funny. And he will take some of our challenged kiddos and just go walk and talk with them and like becomes like buddies with them. And it's really cool to see kind of our specialist teachers bond with those because I mean you only get them for 45 minutes. And
yeah.
so it just really creates that kind of bond with those specialist teachers too, with those walk and talks too, that I feel like those grow as well. But being the counselor, I was going to say like the empathy that you have to like every single day. It is so much more of like a social emotional learning than even the academic side sometimes, where it's just like, what just happened?
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. And I get in, yeah, that positive peer role or the positive role model too, especially like there's not many men in education anymore. And so to have that, especially like I know one of the things too that we have something called Talent Team, we're the Hawks. And so we have parent or like fathers, grandparent, like grandfathers that come into our building and get to like go to different classrooms and just building another like positive role model, positive relationship is also something that's been helpful. So that's
I
definitely
like
something
that.
that if
I
you
didn't,
guys
if you don't have
don't
other
have that in
people.
it, it's really, really helpful.
That's cool. Yeah, we just have mainly like our teachers or our specialists or whoever can get pulled basically. If you want to join, like you can just email and say like, hey, I'll do a walk and talk with this kiddo or whatever. But I love that you have like outside resources too to come in and do that. That's really cool.
Yeah, we started it last year and it's just been an amazing thing because they had it before COVID. What was it used to be called? They called it something different, but it's like it's where the dads can come in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. I
That's
have,
cool.
That's
yeah,
cool.
I
it,
like
it,
that.
and it gets because the biggest thing that we've been working on this last couple of years is getting parents involved in our school, and so that's something that we really hit hard on. Like we don't have a typical PTO anymore either. It's all ran by the school, and then there's different committees, so it's really interesting. But that was one of them that they hit hard
Yeah.
on.
I mean, as you guys kind of said, there aren't very many men in education, especially in special ed.
Mm-hmm. Uh-oh. Did we lose him? What's going on?
Role in that counselor dad type area with a lot of my students because all my caseload is well, my entire caseload is all boys. And so and I don't know if that's by design. I don't ask questions. Like I said, I was just excited to be hired. But I do find myself playing that mediator, and it's like, should I really be talking about this with a student and it's like, well, yeah, they obviously need to have this skill addressed if it's continuing to show up in the classroom. But I did like, and I'll sometimes tell them like, guys, I'm 25. I'm not nearly old enough to be your dad. Like I could be your older brother, but we just need to shore these things up.
Yeah.
And it
I think
usually
that's
goes pretty.
relatable.
Yeah, I think it goes well. I think that, and then when we need to go do a walk and talk, it's usually, hey, let's just 5 minutes, just come on. And they're like, okay, but then that usually solves the problem. So I mean, to require us to fill those roles, I don't know if they'll ever be able to get that pinned down in a legislative bill, but just understanding that that comes within the territory is something that we should understand.
I think having that knowledge ahead of time would help, but because like when you're in college, your undergrad, they don't really explain all of the hats that you're really going
Lesson
to
plan,
wear.
lesson plan, lesson plan.
Yeah,
Like,
let me have this 3,000-page lesson plan. That's going to teach us what to do.
yeah, nope.
Yeah. I know that's one of the things I'm actually focused in with or social emotional learning. And so that's one of the things I'm like, that's not something that I got taught like any in
No.
college. So, but
No, and I
okay.
feel like it's a very important part for kids, like especially like the younger ones. I feel like
Yes.
they're struggling with that, and I never got taught that in college, and so it's very tough right now to try to implement it.
Well, and especially I think that COVID has really like, so the kids I had my first year of teaching were the kids that when the world shut down, they were in kindergarten. So
Oh,
they never had real like social emotional learning. They never had like, they were taught to just basically stay apart from everybody. And then like last year's crew was they started behind masks and 6 feet apart and all that. And it's just insane to see. Like this year's a little bit better with like conflict resolution and stuff like that, but they just don't have the empathy. They just don't have the consciousness of caring for one another. And it's so sad to see. And I think that, yeah, especially not having a good understanding of it from college or your undergrad, it's just so sad. because it's something that's becoming more and more important. Because I don't know if you guys remember from the very beginning, the first assignment, like the get to know you, I said something about iPad parenting, and oh, it was one of the things I actually talked about in that like personal curriculum thing. Like it's insane. Like literally how many parents just throw some sort of technology in front of the kids and that's their parenting, so they don't have those, how do you handle when this happens or that. So
I think, yeah, I would agree with you. I think that we have two opposite ends of the spectrum. I think that there is a significant number of iPad parents, but I also think there's a lot of parents who get in the way of letting kids learn from some of those growth opportunities.
yep,
And I
learned
think that,
helplessness.
yeah, I mean, I'm not going to call them failures. I mean, but like, because I don't want people to think that that's the attitude that it is. But like, you learn the most from falling flat on your face, and I think that that's really hard for kids to understand now. And so it's such a balance between parents that don't let that happen at all and give their kid juice boxes for everything, minor inconvenience and things like that. But then you have what you said, the opposite side of that, where they just give their kid a screen and tell them to figure things out or don't say anything at all. And so it's such a tough spot that we find our students in.
Yeah. And it's hard because how do you support that in the classroom when you only have so much time?
Right.
And you could spend all day talking about it and giving those examples, but when you're only given 20 minutes a day, 20-30 minutes, it's just tricky.
Yeah.
Okay, last one. Most educators have not been adequately prepared to work with special education students. Okay, I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts. From someone who has a K-8 degree, I definitely don't. I had one special education class. I graduated from Wayne State College. I had one class. Yeah, I know. Go away. I saw that and I was like, oh, I know that. Yeah, I had one class, so I do not feel like I had a lot of learning experience with that. And I think honestly, the biggest wake up call I had is when I was long term subbing for a special education teacher for 3 months. And that was the biggest like wake up call for me. Like I completely changed how I teach, how I talk to kids. It was insane for me to like see such a difference. And I was like, why did I only have one class with my undergrad?
I can agree with you. I feel like I did not have very much at all for it either. So I feel very uneducated with it, but it is something that I truly am passionate about. So like I try to research my way through it a little bit, or I go and learn from some of our special education teachers or ask tons and tons of questions. But I definitely feel under knowledge about it. But I did sub too, and I subbed actually at the high school in North Platte High School, and they always kept calling me back for it, and I like fell in love with those kiddos. Like I truly loved them. So that would have been like my experience, but that's so different now, like high school and then now elementary. Like it's different. Like you just need more skills in all, to be well-rounded. And like I said, I dig for more information that I can find, truthfully.
Yeah.
Yeah, I only had like one or two classes, and I feel like sometimes I struggle with my special ed children because I just don't know how to help them to get stronger in a skill. And sometimes the best thing that has helped me, like I follow a lot of like Facebook groups, and that has helped a lot.
No, I would agree with that. And it's kind of funny, like social media gets such a bad rep for that kind of stuff, but that is truly where educators can connect. Like I know I used to give TikTok a lot of grief, but honestly, I have found some of the best like tips, resources, strategies, just different things that I can use in my classroom, and because an educator shared it and being a part of those
Instagram.
groups. Yeah, and Instagram.
I do a lot of followers on that, and some of my like favorite first grade followers is where I get a ton of stuff from too, and I agree with that too.
And I mean, I'll kind of piggyback. I mean, my degree is in K through 12 special education, and I did the fast track through Doane,
Okay.
and I still didn't get nearly enough education. And it's no fault to the program, but
No,
you get so many different like I dealt with bathroom issues. Like that's not something that gets brought up. And so they don't teach you how to communicate that home to mom. that this incident happened and I got the pleasure of cleaning it up. They didn't teach you that at Doan. And so, like, from a paperwork standpoint, like, they did a great job. Like, IEPs, notice of meetings, writing all those wonderful paperwork pieces that I get to write for the next 32 and a half years of my life. They did a
Who's
phenomenal
counting?
job. Not that I'm counting. They did a phenomenal job preparing me from the administrative piece of the special education world. But, and there's not going to be a program that's going to be able to cover every single thing that you see from either the general education or the special education side. So I felt very prepared, but you're still going to swim a little bit close to the shore. I mean, like, you're going to struggle, like, regardless.
It's like you have to learn as you go.
Bingo.
Every day is something new.
Yep.
Well, and each student is different too because you have so many different needs. Like, how could you, be prepared for that? But I guess that, like, I think that that is one of the powers of social media and having connections in different districts. And I think that's why it's important that we do have discussions like this because it can truly make a difference on things. Like, I know, so like we're piloting CKLA. Curriculum. And so we have joined like a couple of different Facebook groups. And honestly, we've gotten some of the best resources from that. And like, hey, this part is really tricky. This is what we did, or like we post like some of those different things. And so I think that if we have that as educators to be able to go back and reference too is a big difference because like I know my first year I had a kiddo who was AA in third grade. And so he could barely count up to 10. And so it was so hard because what do you do when the rest of your class is learning multiplication and division, but this kiddo can't do that? You don't want them to feel alienated or what have you. But yeah, so just having those different curriculum kind of ideas to be bounced off of. So, is there any, let's see, we talked about the first one on con is serving the special education population diminishes resources for students who are most likely to benefit from public schooling. I mean, that one.
No.
Schools should not have to provide. Oh yeah, we talked about that one. Okay, so we agree we're all pro for it when it is appropriate and when it works best.
Absolutely.
So, okay. Well, I think that that's all that we really need to talk about. Is there any other things you guys think of?
Not really. It's nice to see all your faces, though.
Yes.